Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the TalkTrack at the Borough House. The TalkTrack is a pro production of the Car Junkies and the Borough House. Every Sunday, the Borough House. Produced by Morris, edited by Morris, and sound mixed by Morris. We do not own any of the rights to this music. Presented by me, the village man. Though I'll be transitioning into a city man very soon. I've expressed how I feel. Today we're going to talk about feelings. So I'm going to start off with a quote by Barney Siegel. We destroy ourselves when we stop feeling. If you bury your feelings within you, you become a graveyard. We destroy ourselves when we stop feeling. If you bury your feelings within you, you become a graveyard. So, ladies and Josh, do you agree that burying your feelings can lead to self-destruction, and why? Hello? So, for example, I've expressed my feelings that I am transitioning to become a city man. I am not going to a graveyard. Yes, Joss.
No, I was going to say, like, burying your feelings a lot of times just ends up building up tension. And if you're not able to release that, like your body's natural way of releasing stress and different things is through crying or, like getting it out. And so that's releasing different chemicals in you that actually is beneficial. To allow other things to happen, like to allow you to, move on through your day. Because if it's all built up, it's going to continue that way until it's released. So a lot of people just build it up and then they all of a sudden freak out. Yeah. And then, and then it becomes one little thing becomes a bigger deal than what is needed, And so oftentimes that can stress relationships because you might have done one small thing today, but it made me so mad because I've had this tension for so long. And I think it happens in relationships too. Like if continuously, let's say Olivia is doing these things and I don't tell her that she's done those things, then there's one day I'm just gonna, blow up on her. Yeah. And she'll be like, what did I do? Like, I wasn't doing anything bad, or maybe it was a small thing. Like maybe she spilled my water and then I just was so angry. But then she's like, I'm sorry, like it was an accident or I didn't know I was doing such and such. But because I didn't tell her all along, it's built up to that. And so that causes and it ruins relationships all the time. Yeah. So I think, burying your feelings for even little things builds up and then leads to more destruction than needed. And
I think I have a follow-up question. How do you think with suppressed emotions, how do they manifest how do they show up in our lives? You said, for example, like crying or, you bust out. Any other ways?
Like other ways that you release emotions, is what you're saying? Or suppress them?
How suppressed emotions show up in our lives? Even when we ignore them,
Well, even just like burnout, an example a lot of times is like you can't concentrate or you can't do anything because your mind is so focused on those other things. I think that's a way we kind of suppress it in a less way that might not affect the person next to you. But procrastination, really burnout. I don't know. What else do you think? Because there's... you're just there. You're not really feeling the emotions and, depressed. Because a lot of, even if you look at the symptoms of depression, it's like people can't even get up and take a shower, Or if they do, it's not like that beneficial of the things they're doing because they're only putting in the minimal effort that has to be done to get there. So, thank you.
I also think it turns you into this person that there's what they call distortions, and then you kind of follow under a category or two or three where you start, because you're not expressing your feelings and things are piling up in you, and you don't have the communication thing. Josh is going to do something and you're going to start mind reading people. Like you start looking at Josh and whatever they're doing, and you're like, I'm thinking this is what he's imagining. So you start creating your own stories about people, and then those very stories depress yourself. You get angry, or you get confused, or you distance yourself. If you're not mind reading, you can be like kind of exaggerative, like you exaggerate even small things because you're not able to communicate, have people like understand, okay, this is what is going on, or this is how I feel. And so that is how all those things are a sign. Before you know it, you're like maybe talking to other people. You're like, hey, this and this. You find outlets that are not healthy, and then that are not helping the situation. So I think all those ways bring out how suppressing our feelings can come other ways. It can come back to us through all those small things we keep doing, and that in the end we are stressed.
Olivia has expressed her feelings.
I'll always stick to just existing. Yeah, I keep referring to the book, or rather play. Was it a play? The book, The Outsider. So you literally become the outsider. You're within a group, but you feel like you do not belong because you're suppressing. You can't tell yourself. Earlier on, we were talking about telling people you love them. You can't even do that. Or you can't even tell them, hey, I feel a certain way. I don't like this, or I don't like that. So it's like being in a room full of people, but feeling like you're standing there by yourself. So basically, you're just existing, okay? And then you just go through life indifferent in some sort of way. You don't really, like we can be here, I will not really engage. I maybe will engage, you know? And then just people will see you through like, oh, you're like an extra in a movie, you know? But you're a part of that movie, but you're like an extra because you're not allowing yourself then to fully immerse yourself into it because you're probably afraid of, and this is the thing I was going to say, that quite often as human beings, we shall talking about our feelings, or you need to talk about how you feel. You need to not suppress your feelings. But is the environment appropriate too? Earlier on, I was telling someone today that I will come and say, Olivia, you can talk to me, okay? But the moment Olivia opens herself up to talk to me, you get what I'm saying? Chances are it's going to go 50-50 either way. Yeah. So if Olivia has experienced or has seen, or even the uncertainty of how that will work out, and quite often as human beings, we keep telling ourselves, that guy shouldn't have jumped off the roof. He could have talked to someone. But we are the same human beings. You understand? I'll tell you to open up to me. I'll tell Josh, tell me. Yeah? And then Josh tells me, and then I turn, I'm like, this guy, you know? So it means when he allowed himself to be vulnerable around me, he wasn't visible to me. But he became visible, but I did not see the visibility. I did not appreciate him being visible to me. So I think that is why, where I'm getting into the space where, like what we were talking about earlier on, is that is how we find ourselves suppressing our feelings. Because quite often as human beings, we sometimes don't keep our word, you know? That, oh, you can trust me, Jocelyn, talk to me. Before you know it, when you open yourself up, I just, drop you to the ground. Or even not being certain on what happens when I actually open myself up. Like we said, that's when you're vulnerable, no? So chances of being hurt are quite high, So we forget, then we suppress, then we suppress, then we suppress. Of course, like we've said, when you suppress, at some point, it's just how the human mechanism is. You're going to have a blow, you're just going to explode with emotion, or you're going to become indifferent, or you're going to become. I don't want to use the word sensitive because people will call it sensitive, but I don't think it is per se. It's just that everything, like she said, you begin to read into everything. Because now you're thinking to yourself, how do I approach this? So, but for me, I go indifferent. We become very indifferent.
Okay. The king is speaking.
Yeah, the village man. Okay, according to me, when you talk about suppressing of feelings, I see it in two categories. Majorly, the feelings, first of all, the way you're expressing yourself might be verbally or in form of action. So the question comes here about usually we look at, we weigh through the pros and the cons if our expressing of the feeling will avert the situation or gravitate, what you're trying to solve. So usually, let's say you have something you need to communicate, you need to let out of your heart, and yes, of course, you need to get it off your heart, but then you think through it and you're like, oh, okay, if I'm telling this person, how sure am I that this person is going to, when I confide in this person, the situation is actually going to become better than become worse, so than this person make it worse than it originally was. Yeah, so sometimes we find ourselves choosing to keep quiet and suppress our feelings in terms of the verbal way they expressing them orally. Yeah, and true. Of course, who better than to trust yourself more? So sometimes it has more weight because, yeah, true. Yeah, that's my view about this.
You guys have raised a very interesting point. But do you think suppressing, when you suppress your emotions, is it more about other people or about yourself? And I'm really curious because why do you think people find it hard to express their emotions, or why do you think people easily suppress their emotions? It could be like you guys have been talking about, like, for me, trust is a very difficult thing. I'll be here suffering, I'll not tell anyone, I'll just do my own things. But it has nothing to do with trusting other people. I think it's more to do with, like, I've constantly, since I was a little kid, I've always known the only one person I can depend on is myself. So that's me. And sometimes people take it badly, it's like, hey, talk to me. I'm like, bro, chill. Yeah, so why do you think people find it hard to, like, express their emotions, or, like, easily suppress their emotions? Yes?
No, I think a lot of people want to believe it's for the other people, why they tell people things or they don't tell people things, but ultimately it comes back to us. So an example might be like, I really want them to know how much I care about them, or I care about someone, but then they use it against you in the future. Yeah. Like if you do something bad, they're like, but you told me you love me, and you did this, or like little things that I think when people confide in other people, that's what we're ultimately afraid of, is that we don't want those people to use it against us, or to maybe tell other people who could use it against us, or to look bad, because we ultimately want to look like a good citizen that, is out there striving, and we don't want to express to other people that maybe we're not, And so I think it ultimately comes back to you, but I think we often want, or we desire to want to have other people know how much we care about them. Because I know, like, growing up, it was always like, we always heard the stories of, well, actually, we can give an example of someone in this society, like, they left, and then her husband passed away, right? And so she's like, at least the last thing he said to me was, I love you so much, and I love the kids so much, And so, like, we always hang on to those, like, last things that we said to someone. So growing up, they always told us that. Like, if you don't say, you love the person, what happens if they pass away? And then they never knew how you felt about them. So that was like a constant thing growing up. But at the same time, you were afraid, because if you told them that and then they hurt you, right? Then they knew, like I feel like sometimes we feel like if we tell someone I love you or I care about you, things like that, then they go against us, then we look bad. That's what I was telling them earlier. Like we might, especially in like romantic relationships, people want to say I love you and stuff, but ultimately when you do, those person might, let's say, break up or like do something to you or cheat, whatever. And then it's like, now I look dumb. Like, I expressed all of this emotion and you just feel like lower because than you would have been if you would have never told them that, So I think we're just afraid and suppress it for our own selves. I don't think we do it for other people ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with what Jocelyn said. I think I would also add on that I would love to share first. I recently did an activity where I had to write a love letter to the person I love most. And it was quite challenging. I realized because the person is not even there, but it was like taking that time to. No, I was able to write, but then I realized I had to read. It was a surprise that I had to read that letter in the room full of all these people. So it was a challenge. I was like, and the person is not there, still remember. So I read the letter, but I cried so much writing that, like reading that letter, because it made me realize, and then other people had to do the same. Some people wrote those letters to people that died, and they cried so much. And then it made me realize that we take things or people in our lives for granted. We're like, oh, I have that person. The person is in my life, and and then we don't take the time to let them know how we feel. So I feel like when we don't let people know how we feel, it's like we are doing it to protect ourselves, like she said. And also, I think in a culture like ours, like it's something that we don't think about it. We're like, but we don't know how much it actually means to the people. It's a good thing in a way if we express our feelings. Because I can tell you today, my mom gave me an answer that shocked me. Like, I remember when I was working, I got her I used to buy things. Every time I get salary, like I make sure she's sorted. I was happy. Like I've done a couple of things at home. But she told me this. She was like, she called me the next day when I got to Ginger, and she's like, this is the best present I have ever received in my life. The words I wrote, I even wrote it in English. I had to go back home and read it to her. I want you guys to acknowledge how difficult it is for people to express their feelings. Like, she's my mother. But then I could not read it. I had to read it like I had done. So I skipped the assignment.
Can I pause you?
So,
Yeah. Why do you think it was so difficult for you? Is it a culture thing, or do you think it's like an upbringing thing or a culture thing? Then you continue. I'm curious.
I don't know if I want to say it's an upbringing things, because we never really talk about feelings growing up. And yeah, so I think it is a cultural thing. Because recently, I think as my mom got to understand and advance and stuff, she has always been telling me, I love you. And I'm like, thank you. I realized it had never come out of my mouth to her. Like, even when she had started saying it. So I think it is more of like something cultural, like within us, and that deep fear of being vulnerable. Like, yeah, so I just feel like it's a challenge we have. It's a problem, though we tend to say people can't be trusted. It is the other people. It's the other people. Until we come to realize that it is a weakness that we have. And when we do it, it makes people feel special in our lives. Yeah. So we will start, I think, we'll start doing it. Also, I wanted to bring about, to mention the fact that why we don't do it with some people. Like you have problems, you come at barrows, you teeth with us, but you're not telling us, you're suppressing it. You're cool. Or you can smoke high grade and go away with it. Yeah, but we are there and we call ourselves your friends. But why are you not telling us and choose to suppress us? It's because in the world today, people have turned into judges. Like someone, you tell Josh how you feel, and Josh is going to bring his science in your situation. Now, I think you're wrong, or you had to do this. We fail to acknowledge that we live in a world where people are not listening, are not active listeners. We actually want to just share with you. We don't want your advice. Most of the time, people don't want what we have to say. They just want
Someone to listen.
Someone to listen to them. Yeah. That's another thing that I learned so much and I came to appreciate. People just want to be listened to. Keep your advice until it's asked for. But in the world today, people always have advice when we tell them, this is what I want to do, this is how I feel, this is who I love, you're crazy. Like, you were like this, So I feel until, actually also on the side of the world, until the world gets more listeners, people that are listening without judgment, people that understand that we just need a listening here and not sympathy or what, then I think that will help people to be a bit more vulnerable. But also we should acknowledge that it's a weakness that we have that we need to work on.
On the issue of the weakness, maybe I'm still struggling to register that. Because see, by the time I am hesitating, it means I am aware that if I do open myself up, chances of being hurt are very high. Yes? It's not because, I don't want to share, I don't want to this, Olivia is my friend, I don't have the courage to talk to Olivia. But I'm also thinking to myself, what if? Because that's what happens, in the world. That's why you see, very rarely do we find people that we, in our deepest and deepest of hearts, people we call our own angels. You meet people and it's so easy. They go out of their way. It's so easy. And every time that you're about to fall, they catch you. And you find it so easy to do the same because love reciprocates. Yeah? Like naturally, when you love something, when you love someone, you invest in it. You put time, the energy, you're committed. That's why I keep telling people, you don't have to keep telling someone who claims they love you to do this, to do that. Then they do not. Because love in its natural form means that it is going to do things that are not, you don't have to ask for. If I love you, I am going to make sure you're okay. I am going to check in on you. I am going to make sure if you're sick, I am there. If you're going through something, I am there. If you sort of like close your doors off a little bit, I will still be by that door waiting for when you're ready to open that door. Yeah? So I think that's why we've misinterpreted what love is, to be honest, or what fear is. And for me, that's when I come in and say it might not be a weakness, because when we decide to love, you're just all in. Yeah? You're prepared for whatever comes with that situation. Whether it's a mother, that's why they say a mother's love, because I think that's the one that has stood the test of time. But even in relationships, whether it's romantic or friendships or anything like that, we have detached from feeling, because when we feel, we are going to be hurt. So the mechanism here to protect ourselves is actually learned. Yeah? If you've grown up and you've not had your mother say, I love you, or your father say, I love you, but they're telling you, or you know through action, that they do. You know, because if they love you, they're going to make sure you're fed, you're dressed. Some people may not be able to do that. That's when then it becomes tricky. It doesn't mean they don't love you. That is why it's important to come in and tell someone, okay, that, hey, I do what? I love you, or I'm concerned about this, or I do not like this. But I agree on the issue where you said we don't have listeners anymore. Everyone is a therapist. The moment I start to speak, or the moment you start to speak, I'm ready for an answer. I'm ready to tell you something because you get it. So I'm not even, thank you. I'm not even listening to you. I'm beginning to relate to everyone's story I've had so that I can tell you. I'm not even hearing you. And I'm getting the sense of what you mean by hear is not just words are being spoken and the ears are working. No. By hearing, I think you're using the same kind of, like when I said visibility. Not physically you're there, but I've opened myself up. Now we fear because if I open myself up, Olivia, and you're still not seeing me.
Yeah, right.
You get, I'm literally going to be like a Casper, the ghost, where you just, you do whatever because you don't see me. You don't acknowledge my existence in your space or in your life or how it affects you, how it doesn't affect you. Because that's when you begin to weigh, should I say this? Should I not say this? Sometimes we don't say things because we love people. Not because we don't trust people. Because chances are I might say or express my feeling, but because I love you so much, you might get hurt and maybe respond to the situation a certain way. I rather not. I think that's what Joshua was saying as well. I think we've all literally said that. Because then if you're hurt and it's going to damage our relationship, I rather not say anything. Because then we are safer not knowing what's going on, and then we proceed. It's only bad or unhealthy when it's bad energy. Because that means with someone you care about and love, you will sense that the energy needs to be refreshed. And then you'll find ways of making it right. But I have learned that you need to tell people how you feel. Let's not only focus about, oh, I do not like this, oh, I have a problem with this. For most of us in this world, that's quite easy. The hard part is letting people know, telling them that you care, or that you love them, or that you are there. Sometimes we talk to people and we just want them there. We don't want all the noise of the world that comes with it. Just being there. Have you sat with your friends sometimes and you just sit and you're not even talking? But you're feeling at peace there. That's love, all right, over there. So, anyway, I think in terms of feelings, that's where I'm coming.
So generally, according to me, I think this all evolves around two things, majorly when it comes to feelings.
Joshua, you have 2 points. Sorry for interrupting you. I acknowledge your feelings. Please continue.
Okay. So I think majorly, yes, there are other aspects that also influence here, but majorly it is the difficult we find usually in expressing these two words. I'm sorry and I love you. I think majorly it's that, because in whatever story, there is one of the two. In whatever situation you're talking about, there is one of the two. So I think it starts from there.
Even I'm proud of you could be.
Yeah, but that's what I think. Yeah, because in whatever situation that's at hand, there is either need to say I love you, appreciate. Okay, let me put it in a way of appreciation, or express how sorry you are
Yeah.
about some event or anything, and of which usually these kind of two things are hard for almost everyone. Yeah.
Those are the words of Joshua the Oracle. So as a wrap up, and my final question or prompt will be, how do you think being authentic with your feelings, can that lead to some form of fulfillment in life or openness in how you feel about things? Can that lead to some form of fulfillment? Because we want to see, we have suppressed our emotions, we know why. So when we express them, what benefits do we get from that? Yeah, like, do you think there's some form of fulfillment if you're emotionally open? And
Oh
this
my
is
God,
coming
yes.
from someone who's not emotionally open. So I want to know. You tell me.
Yes, yes, yes. And oh my God, it's even much more fulfilling when it's with people you're, what's the word? People you're sure of, you know? When you know that this is your people. That's why I keep saying, I think sometimes we need to find our people because that is when it becomes easier. So fulfilling that you can talk about the relief, the burden from both ends. Whether it's about the complaint or it's about showing love and care and all of those things. Oh my God, it is it's a relief. But of course, it has its should I not? You get. But I think if you're brave enough, whatever happens, whether you're going to be hurt or it turns out good for you, I think, or from what I have known in the years of my living, when you allow your feelings to be felt and expressed and all of that, whew, the relief. It's almost like you've healed, you know? It's almost like you're new, you're fresh. You don't leave things lingering. It's like there are people who fall sick because they can't express their love. And because it's that draining, it sucks the life out of you. You get? So whether it's I love you, I care for you, proud of you, or I am not comfortable with this, or I do not like this, can we adjust this? I think if you're brave enough to face it, whew, it's healing.
Beautifully put.
And I want to say, I love you is I love you. And I'm proud of you is different. I care about you is different. It sounds like those are still our protective mechanisms from actually saying I love you. I love you hits differently than, well, I'm proud of you. Like I can tell anyone, I'm proud of you. Man, you're amazing. Yeah, you know that.
But
Well,
love
it
isn't
doesn't
the
mean that.
only emotion or feeling you can express, is it? You could express a sense of pride in someone. It could be, for making some step in some form of direction.
That's why I think earlier I was saying, I love you because of what? So you're able to explain those things. It's like, you're going to tell me I love you and I'm going to tell you thank you. Because why do you love me?
So you tell us, do you think being emotionally
So
open?
it depends on what you're telling me, you know? And
Olivia,
let me tell you this. We go back to what she said. If I'm summing it, that up, it's like when you have expressing our feelings, it is very good. Like, and it strengthens our relationships. Like when you asked that question, I thought of a friend. I have a friend that always made it a point to tell me how she feels about me and why she feels that. Like, always. And I'm not like very open, so I was quiet, but I was listening. So what do I mean? And I was able to, I understood everything she said. And if you tell me to say the people I care about right now most in my life, and she's not very close to me now, what? I would mention 3 people and she would be part of them. So what does that mean? It's like I said earlier, it's us to do our part. Let's not think for other people, and they also have their weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Yeah. But if we put our attention on working on ourselves and realizing what is more important, and just don't, like, what is there to lose if I tell Josh how yes, it is there, Josh, I love you because of this and this, and I value your friendship or whatever, you in my life. It's yes, if Josh acts other ways, I will not regret anything, because I've seen people that are wishing, I wish I told Josh ABCD, and I even myself, I was like, I wish I told her this as well. And then, like Josh said, also forgiveness goes with it, because I have another letter for her, but trust me, it's going to take me some time to give it to her. I gave my mom a letter, but I have another letter and it's for her. And it was like then pouring out our hearts. So what does that mean? If we have an opportunity, let's just work on ourselves and talk to people, and not think of what, if they'll reciprocate or not. I don't know.
All right. So, Joshua, you want to say something? Okay, Joshua is nodding his head.
I'm sorry. What I want to hear is, so are we telling people? Are we not telling people? Or it depends. Do we, like what we're talking about? Do we tell people? Or do we not tell people? Or it depends.
I think the question of whether you should and whether you shouldn't should be looked at on a personal perspective. Yeah, because people have the way they see things.
Yeah.
We might have the same kind of situation, but to you it might seem okay to speak out, but it might not seem that way to me. Yeah, I might feel okay concealing my feelings. So, because generally what you're trying to address is how good you feel after you have done either of the two, right? Yeah, so if speaking out is going to make you feel better, I highly recommend that you do. It might not be the same case for me. So
the king
yeah.
The king has spoken.
So if keeping quiet is my option, I'll also do that the same. Yeah, because the end goal is making one feel better. Yeah, so that's it.
And I think as we wrap up, the thing with sharing things, there are lots of people who die by suicide now, and that's because they have all these suppressed feelings that they don't feel like they can talk to people about. And I think sometimes when you're the person who thinks that you will listen, it's good to have the emotional intelligence to talk without talking. You know what I mean? Sometimes that form of communication is important. So as we wrap up, thank you, ladies and Josh, for talking about your feelings. Remember that sometimes emotions can be more troublesome than ideas. They have led people to do things that they can regret, like throwing a book at someone. The TalkTrack, proud production of the Car Junkies and the Borough House. Thank you guys, and we shall see you all next week.